Sally,
Yeah.
if you can mute your phone at your end until you want to speak.
You're my dog.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I would like to call the slightly delayed Franklin Township Historical Commission and Historical Architectural Review Board combined hybrid Zoom meeting to order on Tuesday, May 3rd, 2022 at 7:20. In attendance are Chuck Phillips,
Sarah Beth Kohat joined the meeting.
Nan Latimer, Lou Mandich, Sarah Beth Kohat, and via cell phone, Sally Gallagher. Also, we have one member of the public, well, Supervisor Don Dallin. Okay, so the first order of business is public comment. We have no members of the public here. Don, you qualify as the closest thing we have to a member of public. Any comments?
Hi, Paul. It's Sarah Beth. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Sarah Beth.
Okay, great.
We heard you were logging in, so I added you to the attendees in process. We are having technical difficulties for some reason. I'm not sure what's going on. And we'll hopefully, but going forward, I'd just like to note that we are now doing, because we're doing hybrid meetings, we can be here in the township office. So, you know, if you can be here, it might be easier.
Okay.
Okay, the next order of business is the approval of the minutes from October 5th. These minutes were actually previously approved, but in the process of putting together the annual report, I discovered that item I, talks and training, was blank. And as a precaution, I reviewed the video from that meeting, and the video showed we did indeed have a discussion. So I am resubmitting the minutes, which you've all seen, with the talks and training section filled out for the record. And if there are no comments about this, I would like to entertain a motion for approval.
I so move.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, that was a motion from, yes. Motion from Mr. Mandich, seconded by Ms. Latimer. All in favor, say aye or indicate by raising your hand. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Okay, that's unanimous. The next item are the minutes from January 11th of this year. These are the minutes from our last meeting. Are there any comments or corrections? And Sally, if you have anything to say, you might need to unmute yourself because I can't hear anything. Oh, wait. Nope. Okay. There being none, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes of January 11th, 2022 as presented.
Do I hear a second?
I second.
Okay, that's motion to approve by Mr. Mandich, seconded by Ms. Latimer. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, all opposed, say nay. It's unanimous. I heard everyone's voice. Okay, the next item on the agenda is old business, updating historic resource surveys and PHMC data from the resource map. This is a continuing topic, and there is nothing new to report on this since our January meeting. And then next item is, and that's, I'm the one who's got to do that, which is why I'm moving quickly on. The next item is the Churchill African Cemetery. And this is also a continuing item. We've been adding research to the Excel spreadsheet we're developing. And we've been attempting to contact the UAME Mother Church and the Galilee Church in the denomination that is located in Avondale. I'll just start off by saying that they were sent letters that were sent by registered mail more than a month ago, and we've not heard anything. So the next step, which I have not yet taken, but which I also mentioned last month, is to contact, or January, is to contact Crystal Crampton, who's associated with Bucktoe Cemetery and has been heavily involved in the Hallowed Grounds project, in the hopes that she can either have suggestions or act as a contact for us. I wonder if anybody else has any suggestions as to what we might do in this circumstance.
Have you talked to Crystal Crampton? Have you spoken to the Crampton woman from Kennett Square?
No, that's what I've got to do next.
Okay. She would be your best resource.
Yeah, that's what yes. Any other suggestions? Okay, Sally?
Yes.
So can everybody hear Sally?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So are you continuing to update the spreadsheet with collected information?
I am not. I pretty much added anything of value that I have.
Okay, so that's completed then.
Yes.
Okay.
There were a few things I wanted to follow up on, and I haven't done that, but they're not of critical, importance. So, but for all intents and purposes, everything I had has been added.
Okay. So that means at this point that spreadsheet will act as sort of a single location where all this information is pulled together. Anybody else have anything to add to the discussion? Nan, any thoughts? You've been heavily involved in this.
Well, at the beginning, and so you had all my information at the beginning.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you've done a lot of research and tried to reach out to people. At this point, it sounds like it's ours.
Yeah. I guess it'll be Crystal Crampton, and if it's a dead end, then we move ahead, respectfully and cautiously. One of the things I was trying to figure out when you, Sally, and I were out there is whether one of the headstones we were looking at was one that we were previously unaware of. Do you remember that?
I do kind of recall, but I didn't write it down, so now I don't remember.
Okay.
Was it one of the ones, the three that were right as you walk up? The hill?
Yes.
Weren't they? The last name was Hill, wasn't it? Sally.
I don't, and I had notes, and my notes are misplaced now. So to be honest, I couldn't tell you that sounds right.
Well, we can look it up when it gets cleaned up. I guess the question is that are we going to go ahead and clean it up now? It's growing season. It's a good time to cut that invasive and paint it, and so it stops growing.
Right. So I would like to get in touch with Ms. Crampton, and I can do that this week. And if we're sort of, after talking to her where we are now, then I would say, yeah, it's time to develop an actual plan to slowly clean it up. Anything else on the topic from anyone?
No, not that I can think of.
Okay. So I'll contact Crystal Crampton and see what we can do from here. I have sent an email to Fran Barrett, but that was like today, because reviewing this reminded me I needed to do that, to talk to her about the Kemblesville United Methodist Church Cemetery and to see if we can work with her to increase access to information on that. It's possible that pretty much everything that she's done has been entered to the Find a Grave website on that cemetery, and so that may be the prime place to go. But I want to double check with her to see the situation, see if we can be of any help with respect to that. As for the other township cemeteries, at this time, I don't have anything else to report. The next item on the agenda is the Mason-Dixon Art Corner Connectivity Project, which is, these are all continuing topics. I can report that since the last meeting, although a scope of work had been circulated for comments, I learned that it was decided that in light of the fact that Eric Baker of the London Britain Historical Commission had recently become the lead person on the project in London, Britain, it had been decided then to rewrite the scope of the work to clarify it further. When that work is done, which I got the impression from the London Britain Historical Commission meeting this morning, that it sounded like it was getting close to the finish. It will be recirculated for comments among the participating townships. In conjunction with this, I know this is not part of this topic, but the White Clay Creek Preserve Master Plan, which is proceeding sort of on a parallel track, but involves some of the same lands that could be involved in the Mason-Dixon Art Corner Connectivity Project. That's being developed by the National Park Service and DCNR with local input, and it is progressing. And they've been in the process of identifying various stakeholders who ought to be participating in the development of the master plan. When that's complete, they're going to move on to the next stage, but because I'm not familiar with all the details of this, I can't tell you what the next stage is at this point in time. So Nan, Sally, and Paul Overton and I did visit various ruins in Franklin's portion of the Big Elk Creek section in the late winter. And some of this I'm not sure whether this took place mostly after the last meeting or not, because I don't think we talked about this last time. But for the record, I just want to bring this up. We spent a fair amount of time identifying existing ruins, attempting to tie them to what we know about the former properties from historical maps. We also discovered some additional ruins that we hadn't known about, although that happened in the late in this process. About midway in this process, I sent a brief report to the National Park DCNR Task Force via Susan Moon, who now heads London Britain's Historical Commission. And I distributed copies of that report to the Historical Commission members, Township staff, and others in the township involved in this, like Paul Overton and then Greg Sachs. And it was not a very detailed report. It mostly consisted of some pictures, brief description, and rough location. I am going to try and develop that report into something more detailed in terms of the description of the number of ruins as possibly associated with a former farmstead. Subsequently to that report, we sort of realized that we have a former sawmill and bark mill site that was associated with the Tweed family down on the Elk Creek. Their number of wells. I was poking around one day and think I might have found a possible spring house on what would have been the former Crossan property. And the map suggests that one very decayed ruin might be a former mill site on an elk tributary. And this is in a different part of the Big Elk section. So there have been some things that we've sort of figured out, some additional things that we found. And ultimately, I did take a sort of hike mapping program active with me and was sort of able to trace out a route and locate these various sites on that. So the next report will be a little more specific and enlarge on this, the information that we know to a greater degree. Is there anything else that anybody wants to add? Nan, you started dragging me out on this, and
I haven't been out since I dragged you out.
yeah, I know. And I'm thinking I'm not gonna rush out now because farming started on parts of the some of these parcels, and I am not looking forward to having to coat myself with insecticide to repel potential ticks, because a lot of this
Stickers are out now too, so.
yeah. So yeah. So I'm thinking that it may well wait until it's good and cold again before we get out there. But I've got a lot to start that I can work with to try and put together the basis for a more detailed report. Anything else?
Just as an aside, you know that it's not in our township, but the Camp Bonsall Bridge is gone.
Yes.
And a friend of mine lives across the creek, and we took a hike upstream from his place, and lots of ruins along the Elk Creek, upstream from where the bridge was.
Is that public land or private?
Well, we sort of stuck to the creek and the ruins, so I suspect it's private land, but I didn't see anything that said go away or no trespassing. We didn't really, it was just a hike, but I was surprised how many ruins there were along the Big Elk headed upstream.
Yeah. One thing that I'm interested in, and I think I know who I need to talk to, probably Marianne Gruber, is whether Elk has any record of the ruins in their part of the Big Elk section.
Yeah.
Because ultimately that will be important for the master plan that's being developed by DCNR in conjunction with the National Park Service. And what has become obvious is that for example, we did not officially know of the ruins because at the time our historic resource survey was done, that area was Strawbridge land. And so the historic resource survey was done from the road largely. So none of these ruins would have been visible. And I don't know whether ELK has done a historic resource survey or not, but again, they would have been operating under the same constraints we were. So unless somebody's made a personal effort to identify the ruins, they may not be recorded.
Actually, I think Joanne Lawrence made a quilt of the mills, or something. So she knows something about those mills.
Okay.
The elder John Lawrence's wife. I'll see what she has on her quilt or tapestry or something she made.
Yeah, that would be the mills that are at Strickerville Road or somewhere else.
The mills that were upstream from where the Camp Bonsall Bridge was.
Okay, so that's much further.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Something we might want to research at some point is that Emily Kilby did a lot of work in Fair Hill.
Right.
And there are records of Willie DuPont holdings. And they are at
They had Hagley?
Hagley, thank you.
Yeah.
Having a blank. I believe they're at Hagley, and I don't know if that would help us at all. I mean, I think that she said that there were some deeds, like when he purchased the properties in Fair Hill. So I assume that when he purchased the properties in Pennsylvania, there might be some information about that as well. But I don't know. I haven't looked.
Right. I mean, I think we could get started anyway if for example, if we do work with ELK and they don't have anything, in much the same way that we did some of the work we did, which is by looking at old maps and looking at say the 1937 aerial photographs of the land, because a lot of stuff was still showing up in 1937, even if it had been acquired by Willie DuPont. So I think we get started that way without having to get, into Hagley, if that's what we have to do. For example, if we've got to go down, they call it something else, I thought, the library associated with Hagley, but
No, it's the Hagley Library.
is it the Hagley Library?
Hagley Museum and Library.
Okay.
That's how they answer the phone.
I thought it had some sort of other name.
I don't think so.
I mean,
Okay.
it may not be that difficult. It's not a project that I can start right now. It's summer here at the farm, and I'm kind of
No, I understand.
until it starts to snow.
Right. And for me right now too, the rainy days are my most productive ones because I'm not getting outside to do anything.
Right. I mean, that's a winter project for me, but I just wanted to bring it up to have it in the minutes that that's something that we might want to pursue when we all have time.
Understood. And I agree. Okay. Anything else relating to this topic?
I just have a quick question. It's Dawn.
You don't need to. So, one sec, Dawn. No, I should be able to at least totally screw this up and get the power off, if nothing else. Yeah. No, I mean, right. I understand.
You want me to stay?
No. We'll be all right. You can go.
Okay.
Yeah. It can't be any worse than trying to get started. That was the hard part.
Thanks for coming.
Sorry, Dawn. If you want to go ahead.
That's okay. I just want to know, do we know whether they're planning on rebuilding the bridge, or do we have any idea? Because I love that bridge. We used to go over that bridge all the time, and I just love that bridge. I didn't know what the present thinking was on whether it's going to be reconstructed or.
I understood that they were going to reconstruct it. However, my friend feels marooned over there because he has to come a long way around, with the bridge not there. That bridge was an 1864 bridge. And of course, it was rebuilt and maintained throughout, but it was never like gone like it was last September. So I suggested to him that he see if he could get a Bailey Bridge, like they got at Camp Horseshoe when one of their bridges was washed out. That's an Army bridge. But I haven't heard anything yet. I thought that would be a good temporary bridge anyway.
Just
So I
wondered
guess
if
the
you were-
simple answer is I don't know. Sorry.
I wonder who owns it.
Wondered,
Yeah, I don't
Hey-
know who owns the bridge.
Hey, Paul. This is
Yes.
Sarah Beth. I talked with somebody at the county, and that bridge had already been slated for some work, and so they are hoping to reconstruct it.
Okay. So that's good to hear. That's the,
That
it's nice to hear. So it's a county bridge then, Sarah Beth?
I'm not entirely sure because they were working with the state on it. So I don't know who owns it, but they were already planning to work on it, and they are hoping to reconstruct it as a covered bridge.
that would be so awesome.
Yeah,
Good.
definitely.
Well, maybe, and this is there's going to be a talk on the rehabilitation of the Saginaw Road Bridge over the Elk, which was a metal truss bridge in part, a flat. And that's going to be in New London on the 12th. Maybe there'll be somebody there who shows up and knows something about what they're going to do with respect to the covered bridge. And I'll make quick mention of that talk since we're co-sponsors with New London a little later in the meeting. Anything further? Okay, so I have nothing to report since the last meeting concerning 896 road work and a walkable Kemblesville, except to say that there is going to be a PennDOT meeting that on May 6th starting at 2 p.m. that is going to discuss the road work, I believe. There's information on the Township website. And because it's a Zoom meeting, it will be possible for people to log on. And the Township has asked that if you have questions for PennDOT, the ideal thing is to try and get them to Jeff Eastburn at the office. And the email information is available on the website, along with information on the meeting. And they would prefer that you do this if you can, simply because it will give PennDOT a chance to prepare their answers. Being prepared is always an interesting experience.
So why are they milling?
Oh, they're not just milling. They've repaved Appleton. They've repaved 896 from, below 841 to, but way above it.
Yeah.
But it starts below 841, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah.
It goes way, it's
Why?
work.
What? Don't they realize they're supposed to be starting a construction project on it?
And
That's so-
they're going to level some of the hills and have
Yeah.
to totally rebuild.
Yeah.
The world is a mysterious place.
I thought that was a signal that they were not going to be doing it. Wouldn't you think? I don't know.
Jeff-
That's weird.
Jeff, please come to the meeting, please.
That's.
Well,
It-
Dawn, do you know anything that you could talk about publicly?
All I know is that Jeff Eastburn has been absolutely marvelous working with PennDOT and getting them to be forthcoming on what they're gonna, because it had stalled during COVID. So he's been very good about pushing them for some answers. So whoever can come on Friday during the day at 2 o'clock would be awesome to see what they're gonna say, and I don't know what's gonna
Mhm.
happen on Friday, but I can't wait to hear what's gonna happen.
Okay. Yeah, I know that in the London Britain Historical Commission meeting this morning, that they were also very interested, and they were a little disappointed it was not going to be in person because they have what I'll call enhanced concerns about Lund's Tavern as a result of the accident that occurred a month or so ago that took out one of the piers. They had to shore it up. And they are looking for, because that is a National Register property, they are looking to make sure that it is as protected as can be. And part of the problem was at the time at which PennDOT was exploring this safety improvement project, they did not have an active historical commission in London, Britain. And so what advocacy they got in terms of historic properties largely came from Karen Marshall at the county. And while she did get recognition of the Friends meeting there as a historically valuable resource, you know, she was advocating at a higher level and not for specific things. And I think that one of the things that they would like in London, Britain, it would be a stop sign there because they need to get the traffic to slow down, which is not a new complaint for anybody with respect to traffic on 896. But that intersection in the middle of Circusville is kind of down in a valley where people are coming down hills on both sides. And so they move into that intersection with a lot more speed.
Paul, you're frozen on my screen.
Yeah, he is frozen.
We're not, and he is.
We're not, and he is.
Where's Jeff when we need him?
Paul, I'm gonna text him. What was that?
Now he just dropped off. How come he's got two in the first place?
I don't know why that happens. There was echo when I signed on. Right, Paul Agassi. You are gone. Well, Chuck, you got your road paved too, right?
Yes, we did.
Is it good or bad? Are people going faster?
I'm not sure.
In Appleton, they're like, forget it. They're just like off their wheels. They're gone so fast.
Yeah. No, I haven't. If they, I don't know. I'm not committing one way or the other.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that slowed people down on this road actually was the stop sign with 841. It used to be, if you were coming north on 841, you could go straight on to Chesterville without stopping.
Really,
And
I forget that. Oh,
yeah, it used to be a right, except for right, which meant if you were going north, you didn't have to stop at all
no, I forgot
in
that.
any direction.
Yeah.
And yeah, they would build ahead of speed all the way from wherever. And yeah, you didn't have a chance if we were trying to pull out of Heather Hills, because it's a blind. I still don't know why it's a blind corner. I don't know why we can't chop out the head, the bank, but that's a
And
different
Chuck,
thing.
please come to the meeting, please.
Okay. I'll see what's on my schedule. I've got I've got 40,000 things.
Are you talking
I
about
know, we
PennDOT?
have we need all the help we can get.
Okay.
Are you talking about PennDOT? Yeah,
Yeah, for-
well, I'd like to come because I think that they should slow the traffic down on Appleton Road with
Oh.
tables or something. It's nuts.
And please, anybody that
Friday?
can come to the meeting would be great.
On Friday.
Yeah, Friday at 2.
All right, I'll put it on my calendar. What are we gonna do? We lost our fearless leader.
So, so your road is also, it's not a state road, but
State,
It's
Appleton State.
Appleton is a state road?
Oh, yeah.
Chesterville's not a state road, but
Yeah, it is.
no, it's just maintained by the state.
Well, I don't know what the difference is.
You know, now that I say it out loud, I don't know what the difference is either.
I think it's the same as Appleton. It's a state road.
Okay.
But we don't have a lot of control over those roads, except for, I have to brag on Jeff Eastburn has been working really well with PennDOT lately to talk about stuff. So
Yeah.
I do have to brag on him about that.
I mean, Chesterville, they came through and they ground Chesterville down last year and then just never did anything. I mean, it was terrible. People would complain to me about the road because they'd see, you know, they'd be like, the road in front of your house, like, was my fault. No.
Well, I had to get John Lawrence to come and, not John Lawrence personally, but I contacted him several times and his office got PennDOT to come and cut down the weeds on the road because they hadn't done it in 15 years. And I said,
Yeah.
there's people that ride bikes down Appleton Road and they're gonna get killed between the trucks and the bad road and the weeds that they can't see. Somebody's gonna get run over. And
Yeah.
I said, I've already contacted PennDOT and I said, so you are warned that if somebody gets run over, you knew it because I told you. And he got him out there. John did get him out.
So the state does the cutting on the sides also?
Yep.
Okay. So they do Chesterville, not,
But they
I
don't do
mean,
Appleton.
that's weird.
Franklin's coming back on. Says, I saw it, see Franklin Township connecting.
And there's a little dancing dots.
Dancing dots?
Yeah, right
Oh,
next
yeah.
to it.
Oh, now I got an X.
Yep.
Paul, are you back? Oh.
I think this meeting was doomed.
He's all
No.
on his own over there, guys.
I didn't know anything about the bridge being wiped out.
Stricklersville Bridge?
I think it's called the
Oh, the
Bonsall.
Bonsall. Oh my gosh, it was bridges down in Maryland.
Oh, I see
it's-
Paul. He's looking at us.
It's
I
the
didn't-
Rudolph and Arthur's Bridge.
Paul,
Was so sad.
Paul.
Yeah, I'd go out of my way just to ride over that on my bike. I'd go, I'm going to go over the bridge today. So
Oh, it's such a it was
Yeah.
such a beautiful, we went over there to Oxford all the time. We cut through there
Mhm.
and we just loved that bridge.
yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear us, Lou? We can't hear you. It shows that you guys are muted.
Paul said that Jeff's computer crashed, rebooting.
Jeff's never allowed to go home.
Is this any better?
Yeah, you're there.
Yeah, you're there.
Great.
Okay.
Here comes Paul.
We got you.
Oh, This is going to be a meeting to remember. I took a picture of Jeff's screen. I'm going to send it to him later. It went blank. We saw nothing here. So I'm just hoping that we're still streaming because you all remained within the window. You didn't appear to lose contact. And so we've logged back on, and we will try and pick up if I can. All right, so we
corner of my screen, it says live and it says YouTube.
right. So we're on there right now. So we're just gonna proceed for the moment. I think we're okay. If we're not okay, there's just a limit to what I can do. This has been a rough evening. Anyway, so that's where we stand with the road work. Did I break off in mid-sentence? I can't remember at this point.
Yeah, you finished your sentence.
Okay, that's good. I did something right tonight.
We're not going to put you through that. We don't know.
So the next item on the agenda is raising awareness of Kemblesville and Franklin history. And I have been tweaking our existing historical commission brochure and township history, and we'll circulate those when I'm sure that they're stable. I'm having trouble getting the images on the trifold brochure to stay in one place, which I've run into before. And I will be working on a Mason-Dixon and possibly an Art Corner and Wedge brochure now that I've kind of got my fingers out of the splint. London, Britain, as it happens, is developing a brochure for the Historical Commission, and we talked about trying to get other townships involved in this. And so this morning, I talked to them about what we were trying to do and invited them to participate with us and share brochures they developed on their commission and any they may develop on historical aspects of London Britain Township, because we're sort of proceeding in fits and starts with this, but we did get an agreement from 1723 to host some of this, and I would think that some of the other wineries, maybe the Landenberg store, places like that would be willing to host stuff like this. And if anybody decides that there's a topic we think there's a historical topic that they're all excited about and they want to write a brochure on, feel free, and we can include that with all our other materials. There's nothing to report in terms of adding things to the Historical Commission website, but I have largely finished working with Jack Neal on his recollections, and I'm only waiting on trying to get a good photograph of Kathy Ruck's watercolor of the Kemblesville Elementary School, which he donated to the township. And we'd like to add that to his recollections. And once that's done, we should be pretty much good to go. We've got he initially was going to do a longer biography and decided he just wanted something short and sweet at the end to talk a little bit about himself. But it's a nice set of recollections, and I think that members of the township and probably neighboring townships will find it of interest.
When did he start there?
Okay, so he was there, I want to say it would be somewhere around 76. I think he was there until
He was there until it closed.
He was there until, what was that, 2004, 2000, something like that?
I should know. My daughter was there, but
I know. So he was there for 24 years. He was there for half the time it functioned as an educational institution.
Wow.
So he completely defined the second half of its existence. And, but these are really more personal recollections than they are anything talking. It talks a little bit about what they aim to do at the school, that sort of thing. But a lot of it is simply, reminiscences about the kids, the things the kids did, the things he would do with the kids, that kind of stuff. And it's very nice. And I think in some ways, especially with the illustrations that will be included, there are photographs he has from his time there. Not a lot, but just enough to sort of give you a flavor of sort of the personal high points, you might say. And they interact well with the text, and I think that people will find it a nice read. So I hope it will take, I have to get the picture in, he has to okay it, he has to make sure that there was one other thing he wanted to do, but it looks like we're good to go. Basically, we're just doing some final minor tweaks.
Cool.
So, and so that will be something to add to the Historic Commission website when we get that done. In addition, in terms of working on a somewhat more detailed history, I just note that in the middle of doing various reading for the Mason-Dixon project, I was reading a book on the Lenape, which kind of pulls together a lot of the more recent scholarship. And as a result of that, I think that there will be some tweaks to, I'm watching the screen do funny things and I'm not happy with that. Okay, I don't think so. Does anybody know who goes by the name of Stock Picker?
I don't.
So, I'm not gonna, it's a request to join, and because it's not a personal name, and because I've been in a meeting that was attacked, I'm going to, in the absence of other information, not admit Stock Picker.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Me too.
So, and if somebody's viewing it on, YouTube, they can take that information and maybe seek admittance again with a name that's recognizable. Anyway, my reading on the Lenape has given me a somewhat more complex understanding of their relations with other tribes and with the Dutch and the Swedes than our original township history had. And so I'm probably going to tweak the township history a little bit to take this into account. And when that happens, I will share that with everyone for their comments. I have made some minor tweaks on the concise history in the associated brochure, but the other tweaks are really so small as to probably not even be terribly noticeable. Talks and training. So as I mentioned, on May 12th at 7 p.m. at the New London Academy, Renee Labarge will present a talk entitled The Saginaw Road Bridge Project, a photo and video journey. She lives quite near where the road crosses the Big Elk, and during 2021, she rather extensively documented the rehabilitation work with many pictures and videos. And we're going to be utilizing for the first time the large screen television or monitor that they have in New London. So it should really enhance the experience of her talk in particular, as opposed to seeing it through a projector, which is how we've traditionally done these things. Any other talks that?
Yeah, the Oxford Oxford Area Historical Association is going to have a presentation Tuesday, May 24th at 7 p.m. at, gosh, where's their meeting? It's in Oxford. You can
Is
look it
that,
up on,
didn't they, were they doing it at the Pine Street Church?
yeah, Pine Street, where we went before.
Yeah,
But this is going to be Jeff Mowdy talking about Lafayette.
okay. Bruce Mowday,
Bruce, I'm sorry. We
right?
had Jeff Eastburn, sorry.
Right,
Bruce Mowdy,
talking about Lafayette,
yes.
okay.
What was that date again?
May 24th.
May 24th.
Tuesday, May 24th.
Where is it?
It's at their
It's like Sixth and Pine or something?
Sixth and Pine or something like that. They have a Facebook page. And actually, if you're interested, you can review the other topics that they presented. I don't know how far back they go, but I know there was one on the Coatesville lynching, another one about Indian Hannah, and then this upcoming one.
Yeah,
know
they,
Bruce.
I think it,
I
when,
know Bruce, he's awesome.
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah, he's came and spoke on the Johnson gang at our talk, our co-sponsored talk in November.
Right?
The Oxford Area Historical Association, I think began, they went virtual early on in COVID. And oh, it's Jeff Easter. Today, unless somebody's, all right, this will get me interesting.
There he is, I guess.
Oh, it says Jeffrey.
It says it.
All right. Yeah, so anyway, their talks they have a library of the talks during COVID that you can access through their Facebook page. So the next item on the agenda is the revision to the historic district ordinance. And I just want to note at this point that they've not been adopted yet because the solicitor decided that the changes should go to the Planning Commission for review before they are reviewed and adopted by the Board of Supervisors. So they'll probably be with the Planning Commission in a month or two. And finally, new business is the annual report. And I sent it out. You've all had a chance to review it, I hope. And I'm open to any questions, comments, requests for changes.
It looked very comprehensive and very well organized and presented. So I don't have any suggestions. Other than I'm glad you're the president. And
Chairman.
Chairman.
No, I think you did a good job. I don't see any, I think it's fine the way it is. Anybody else?
I'm good with it.
Yeah. Okay, so all right, so I'm just going to make a motion that that we adopt this as our formal annual report. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, that's seconded by Mr. Mandich. All in favor, say aye.
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 I,
Very good. Anybody opposed? I think I heard everybody's voice, but I'll ask. Okay, very good. And we can do that. So that's done for this year. And the final thing, it's not on the, well, there's one thing I want to get back. Sarah Beth, I have a question for you.
okay.
Did you get my email? It came from my Gmail account, so I wondered if maybe you didn't see it, if it got filtered out as spam or something.
About my research that I was working on?
Yeah, about the Mary Boyd. Morrison's.
Yes, I was actually up at the archives today and was able to pull her father's will, and with the help of the guy who works at the archives, I was able to confirm that the property, it is the lot. If you look at the 1883 Breos map, it's
Right.
the land that's owned by John K. Steele. So I think you were right, and that was what I had been thinking, is that it's the property along Hess Mill Road.
Okay.
And I think today that it's a housing development. So I'm pretty sure the house is no longer standing.
Okay, so it's the okay. The Steele property on Hess Mill.
Yeah, if you see it, it's bordered to the north by Mrs. H. Lyle, and it actually lists a paper mill on there. So that must
Okay.
be the Lyle's Mill that they were referring to in the news clippings.
Okay. All right.
So
I'll
that makes sense. She would have had a little walk across some fields to get to the schoolhouse. So.
Right. Okay, very good. I kind of wondered where that stood because they referenced him as a New London farmer in the obits.
Yeah, well, it's pretty close to the township line. And by the time he died, his daughter was attending school in New London. So I don't know if that's why it says that, because it says on the map that that's a Kemblesville post office property. So for whatever that's worth.
Well, I mean, it's possible that he used a New London address because it's just they didn't deliver. That indicated the PO box of the resident.
Yeah.
So it's quite possible.
It would have
that-
been easier. It would have been easier to get to New London than it would have been to get to Kemblesville from where he is.
Right.
I can
In
see
fact, that there are old, I think that the Flint Hill Methodist Church had a Sturkersville post office for similar reasons, that it was just kind of logically easier to pick up the mail there, even though it was in Franklin Township. So if you look at books of historic photos, there's a postcard of the church which associates it with Sturkersville rather than Franklin Township.
Yeah, this family also had a pretty strong connection to the New London Presbyterian Church. I think they're all buried there, so they definitely had ties to the New London area.
They just never accepted that Franklin was created, and they were just silent objectors to the whole process.
That would have been about 50 years after the fact.
Well, some people don't give up easily.
Did you want to talk about the demolition plan of that property?
Yeah, so the other thing that I can just note is I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. As you all know, I did send out an email. There was a judge's decision with respect to the Board of Supervisors' decision to deny a permit for demolition to 3327 Appleton, I think is the address. And the decision went against the township. And so a permit has been issued for demolition. So I don't really have anything to add on that. I don't know if how soon or if the property owner is planning on following through on the permit. But they have the permit.
It would be very useful to see if the judge gave any reasoning.
Yeah, I can get the decision to you.
Yeah, just for future, just to see whether or not there's something we can tweak about the regulations for future for future benefit.
Yeah, it may be helpful to do that, but in my reading, this was more of a procedural issue, that fundamentally the judge decided that on the basis of the evidence presented in the hearing held by the Board of Supervisors, that the decision the supervisors made was not justified by the evidence presented. And so that would be very difficult to undo on appeal. The supervisors voted not to appeal. As much as I would like to see the decision appealed, I frankly don't think it was a winnable case. I wish I thought otherwise.
I have to say, I appreciate how far the township did go with this. I don't know whether or not there's anything the township can do to get, used to be a required photo documentation of historically buildings in a historic district before they're torn down. And also I had said to Paul, is there any way that anything can be salvaged from the building? And of course, the way the situation is, it's unlikely that the owner would let anybody in there, but it would have been nice possibly as for the township to say something like, okay, we won't appeal it if you let people, let certain people have salvage rights if they sign a hold harmless agreement or something like that. But I also don't know about any photographs that could be taken to document the place or should be taken. And that's just personal. I have no real knowledge of whether that's appropriate or not.
I think documentation of a structure to be demolished is appropriate in a historic district. I think that unfortunately this situation, the way we've gotten to this point, it would require the full cooperation of the property owner.
And that's unlikely.
And I would just say that I have no information that indicates that we would get that.
Okay. I was.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you're suggesting is all, I think, perfectly reasonable. But under the circumstances, I'm not sure what can be done.
Well, theoretically, he's still going to try and develop the land and he doesn't have approval to develop the land anymore. That went away. So he may be willing to play ball. If you're looking for something, I wouldn't necessarily throw it out, assuming that that he won't.
No, I understand that depending upon the choices he makes going forward, that I'm not assuming it's coming down tomorrow, but I'm not. We don't have a particularly open relationship with the property owner, and so it's very difficult to get an understanding of what the property owner intends to do in any way that would be helpful in mitigating the situation even.
Yeah.
And I think that when the supervisors were speaking at their last meeting, where they made the decision not to appeal, I think that was very clear. I don't think, I don't think there was any supervisor there who wanted to see it come down. I think that it's safe to say that the decision, the votes that the supervisors made had to do more with whether they felt that it was even worth bothering, if it would be a further financial loss to the township and a harder argument to make now that what you're appealing is a judicial decision rather than simply arguing a court case.
I do agree with Chuck that the more we know about the reasoning for the judge's decision, the more information we have going forward to protect endangered properties.
I can send it out to everyone. Dan had asked me for it earlier and I sent a copy out to her, and I can send it out to everyone. I'm not sitting on it or anything, but I was sending out so much stuff into people's mailboxes that I sometimes feel like, I'm a fountain of documents that need to be printed out, because some of them get pretty hard to read on the screen. Anyway, it was definitely not a happy day. So I'm trying to figure out what's going on here with, I don't know. All right. Anything else? Mr. Eastberg?
I'm good, sir.
Okay. Yeah, we had a little problem with your computer crashing. So.
He's never allowed to go home.
I had to reboot it. So we all got back on the screen again. So it's probably going to be an interesting video in the middle. In any case, we were able to complete the meeting, and if there are no further public comments, no further member comments, I'll adjourn the meeting at 8:27 and wish you all a good night, and hope we're not quite so rainy this week and that people get outside and get stuff done.
Supposed to rain tomorrow. Sorry.
Yes, I'm aware of that. I've looked at the forecast before I said
More
that.
on Saturday.
And
Oh, well.
Saturday is going to be cold and miserable.
Yeah.
Okay,
right.
so
Nice
I'm
to
going to
see
walk over
everybody.
to the computer and shut the meeting down. Good night,
All right,
folks.
good night.
Good night.
Good night.